Clueless. We're your hosts. I'm Jenna.
I'm Lara.
I'm Krista.
And I'm Kayla.
We are going to continue the Elisa Lam case today. I'm really excited to talk about the different theories and everything that happened. If you haven't listened to part 1, go listen to that and then come right back and join us for part 2.
Very intrigued to know what happens.
Except we're not really going to.
Jenna.
I know. It's mysterious.
I told you I like the solved cases.
I know.
This one has been really interesting, though. I can't wait
Yes.
to see what else we're going to learn.
Yeah.
Well, should we dive right in?
Let's do it.
Yep.
Okay. The rooftop's supposed to be off limit to guests. The primary access point was through the locked door leading to the stairwell. Then we had the alarm that would sound if opened. This security measure wasn't foolproof, though. Investigators discovered the rooftop could also be reached by climbing the hotel's exterior fire escape, a route visible from the street, but often overlooked by staff and guests. They said that Elisa, if she was in a disoriented state, could have accessed the fire escape from the hallway window, which would bypass the alarm door. The fire escape provided a direct path to the roof, but it wasn't easy to climb. The fire escape provided a direct path to the roof, but like we talked about, it wasn't an easy climb. You would have had to navigate the multiple metal staircases. It would have been in the dark because when she was seen on surveillance camera, it was already later in the evening.
But they didn't see her again. So, I mean, it could have been the next morning.
That's true. Yeah. And then like we talked about on the roof, you still have to get up to the platform that the water tanks are on. Personally, I wouldn't assume that the water tanks would open unless you knew because you worked there.
I feel like signs lead to it with someone who worked there. Someone who could bypass the alarm. Someone who was familiar with the water tanks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
For me, it seems like the most obvious suspect would be someone who worked there or someone who had previously worked there.
Mm-hmm.
There are also theories and rumors that that video that we watched, because the timestamp is all scratched out, that it was edited or changed, manipulated in some way to protect someone that worked at the hotel.
Oh,
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
maybe there was someone else and they cut them out.
Could be.
I don't.
She does go around the corner like multiple times.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. These water tanks, we said they're 8 feet tall. We have no built-in ladders or footholds. They concluded Elisa would have had to climb the ladder to get on the platform. And then you would have to go up another ladder. There's like a building that's above these 4 water tanks to maybe go in from the top because you wouldn't be able to climb up onto the water tank. The lids are heavy. They're designed to keep debris out. Detectives questioned whether Elisa, alone and unassisted, could have opened the lid and climbed inside. And even more so, to me, how do you put that lid back on top?
Mm-hmm.
Can't, especially if it like locks it. Like you said, if it twists or something, there's no way.
Mm-mm.
So I got curious. I have a picture pulled up.
Oh, show
and
them.
I don't know how you would even get inside those.
Right? I mean, like, they're high up.
Yeah, they are.
The picture that I'm finding, you can see the firefighters and other people standing next to them for scale. I don't feel like there's an easy way to get into those unless you had like a separate ladder or
Right.
something.
Right.
The tops, it's not like a big door. I don't understand how someone would open that or get in that.
Mm-hmm.
The worker that went there, was there like a worker ladder he had to take with him to get in to check it? Or how did he look into it? Do you know?
I think that, is there a ladder that you
So
see?
there's a ledge. I found another picture.
Good job.
There's like a ledge, but it's still, it's still got to be at least 6 feet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering how he got up there to look into them.
He must have taken a ladder.
So
Yeah.
unless this picture has a guy standing on top of it and they're on top of that roof. So unless it looks like about a 4 or 5 foot drop from that other roof, they got up onto the roof and then dropped down onto the tank, then they could have
Okay.
done that access door
Yeah.
there
The
from being on top of and then hopped off onto the other ledge and then back down to the roof.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that makes it seem, though, like someone else had to be involved.
Or if she got up there somehow, decided that she wanted to play around on them, maybe opened it, fell in, or...
I mean, how would it close, though?
I mean, what if she fell in and somebody noticed the lid was slightly off and fixed it? I don't know. I feel like you would see her.
Yeah, I feel like you would see her, or she had already been reported missing. Wouldn't that seem to spark something of, hey, this lid is off, you know?
That's why I feel like the lid had to be put back on. And there's no possible way she could have done that.
Yeah.
It looks like this one. So, sorry, I'm just going to keep looking at images over here.
No, that's good. I like that.
So there's a firefighter. It's like an aerial view. There's a firefighter standing on top of the roof, and he's standing on top of the door. It's honestly maybe like 1.5 by 1.5.
That's the thing,
Like,
too.
it's not a big access door.
Right.
Well, that's why they said they didn't feel like they could pull her out.
Right.
That's why they had to cut into it.
Right. Because they couldn't pull her out through the size of that safely without
Yeah.
losing evidence.
If it is like a door, I mean, if she could have held on to it or if she was holding onto it and fell and it closed down on her.
Oh, that could be.
Because it does look like that door is like
It's a hinge.
Hinge?
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a handle on the inside, though.
it doesn't look like it from that picture because that
Uh-uh.
one, the door's open. But if she was holding on to,
Oh, I
The
wonder if she had
top?
damage or something.
I mean, they wouldn't have been able to tell
Yeah, there's not a hinge on the inside.
a handle.
A handle, yeah.
Yeah. But if she was like hanging on to that to,
Mhm.
I don't know. I guess if she fell in and it shut or she let go and it dropped down,
Right.
because even if she like kind of like if it went up and then
Mhm.
started to come down, if she slipped off, it could have shut down on her.
That's true.
Or if
don't know.
it's an unfortunate case of she got in there on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would be an explanation as well. I feel like it would be really hard for her to get up there by herself.
Right. And then to get in there.
If she was having some kind of episode though with her mental
Mhm.
health,
That's
Yeah.
true. She could have
mean-
thought it was something completely different.
She could have.
Especially with bipolar disorder, during a manic episode, you can have hallucinations, you can have like grand ideas and plans and things like that. And then if she went into like a depressed state of her bipolar, she could have felt suicidal or something like that. But I don't know.
It's definitely possible.
especially if she hadn't been taking her medications.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
If you said possibly she had missed some days,
Right.
very possible she could have had an episode,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
especially with the video. You know, if she was having some kind of hallucinations or
That's
something.
what it looks like on there to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know, though. They didn't find any fingerprints, footprints, anything around the water tanks, anything to suggest that someone else had been up there. And it doesn't seem like they found hers either.
That's what I was going to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Because if she opened it herself, then her fingerprints would be all over the lid.
Right. And the ladders.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless, I mean, I don't know how long they stay for because it was 3 weeks by that point.
That's true.
And outside,
if it had rained or
Mhm.
something.
Exactly.
that could have, ruined that evidence.
You might need to look up the weather in February in LA in 2013.
And then also how long fingerprints last.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, there are several theories about how Elisa might have ended up in there. We'll talk about each of them. Let's talk about her autopsy first.
So the length of time a fingerprint lasts depends on different factors. On some surfaces, it can last for many years. However, fingerprints can be washed off quickly if they're outside.
Okay.
Mhm.
Temperature and humidity can affect that as
Oh.
well. Sounds like washing the object the fingerprint is on can also destroy it. So, if it did rain,
Right.
then it sounds like
Hmm.
pretty much any DNA evidence would have been washed away.
Yeah.
Hmm. So foul play sounds like it's back on the table.
Possibly. It's hard to know.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There's way too many unknowns.
So many. And you see that, and sometimes you're like, okay, well, there wasn't video but when there is, and they're looking for her literally the day after.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could have only been 12 hours.
Yeah.
The Los Angeles County Coroner's Office conducted a full autopsy. The report was released on, get this, June 20th,
Wow.
2013. 4 months.
Wow.
They determined her official cause of death as accidental drowning, with her bipolar disorder listed as a significant contributing factor. The details of the report left lingering questions that fueled even more speculation and debate.
Wait, so her cause of death was drowning?
That's what they listed as the cause of death. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
The autopsy found no evidence of physical trauma or signs of foul play. There were no external injuries such as bruises, cuts, or scratches that might suggest Elisa had been assaulted or struggled with someone. They didn't find any internal injuries either. It seems like they tried to make these findings rule out any possibility of foul play. Investigators also noted that Elisa's body showed signs consistent with prolonged submersion in water. Her skin was macerated, which is the term they use.
I don't know what that means.
It's a condition caused by extended exposure to moisture,
Oh, okay.
but there was no decomposition inconsistent with the reported timeline of her disappearance and discovery. Interestingly, the report stated that there were no indications of sexual assault, even though, like we talked about, they didn't do a rape kit. The toxicology report revealed a key detail about her final days. She was not taking all of her prescribed medication at therapeutic levels. So there were traces of her antidepressant and mood stabilizer in her system. Other medications, most notably, I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, quantapine, an antipsychotic commonly prescribed for bipolar disorder.
I have a question about that though. If she'd been up there 3 weeks, would her levels show if she was taking her medication consistently?
Right, because like we talked about with, say, alcohol, it can dramatically raise the body's blood alcohol level, even if
Yeah.
they hadn't really had any.
Quetiapine.
Quetiapine.
Seroquel.
Seroquel.
Quetiapine.
So I think it depends on how your body metabolizes it and how quickly she had died. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Being in the water though, like, and absorbing that, would that make a difference?
I would
Like,
I would
if you're-
assume so.
If your body is like taking on that much water, it seems like that would make a difference on what shows up in those reports.
And I wonder if they have ways to determine what the level should be based on being in the water.
Maybe.
Probably.
One day we'll talk about the body farm, which is where they try to find these things out. People donate their bodies to the body farm and they put them in things like a car submerged in water.
I want to do that.
I will make sure. Wait, I'm going to die first. So sorry.
You don't know that.
It's really interesting what they can learn, though. They can put them at different temperatures. They can put them
That is really
at
interesting.
different depths.
It's so interesting.
It is.
I have a morbid curiosity about this now.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Maybe you can research that episode.
Okay.
So I'm wondering, though, if they have learned from things like that what the levels should look like
That's
if you're in water.
I did not know that was a thing.
I didn't
Really?
either.
No, I'm
didn't know
so
that was a thing
fascinated
either.
now.
Oh my goodness,
That
this is why we're doing this.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean,
Yeah, because how else do you
these
know?
things? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm going to be donated to science.
Beautiful.
Better than going in a box in the ground, honestly.
I
Well,
know.
I was previously going to be cremated because,
Yeah.
Then you can each have a piece of me. But I think the body farm now.
All right.
Were you going to give us jewelry made out of you?
Oh.
Now I am.
Have you
No,
not
you're
heard of
going to the
that?
body
I
farm.
have heard of that.
Yeah, you
Hannah
can
doesn't
do-
want my diamonds.
I do, but I want you to go to science.
Okay.
Okay.
There is actually a process where you can take ashes,
Yeah.
turn it in.
I know. I've seen that.
Yeah,
I
that's what
hadn't
I was
thought of
talking
that.
about.
You're welcome, guys.
Interesting.
Oh,
Okay. Well,
sorry. We digress.
yes, we'll come back to the medications.
Sorry.
No, I like it. Seeing the different amounts, she had some at therapeutic levels and some that were not. And it was the bipolar ones. And so they were wondering if she had either skipped doses or stopped taking certain medications during her trip. This says that for someone living with bipolar disorder, medication adherence is crucial for managing mood swings, preventing manic or depressive episodes, and maintaining stability. Missing doses of antipsychotics or mood stabilizers can result in a range of symptoms from anxiety and paranoia to full-blown psychosis. This raises the possibility that Elisa was experiencing a manic or psychotic episode in the days leading up to her death. I also read that taking one of your medications while not taking the other, when you've got multiple that are treating these different things, it's like a balance. And so if you take off one, the other side goes too far. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Messes with all of those levels. The findings in her toxicology report provided a potential link for investigators. They found that individuals who had stopped taking the medications that she had stopped taking could experience heightened energy, impulsivity, and impaired judgment, leading them to take risks or behave in ways that seemed inexplicable to others. Also, in the psychotic state, hallucinations or delusions can further distort perception, creating a sense of urgency or fear that drives seemingly irrational decisions. These factors align with the possibility that Elisa could have climbed onto the rooftop and entered the water tank on her own.
Well, and if she was having, a psychotic break, maybe she thought she was hiding from somebody.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
If she
Yeah.
was climbing in somewhere to hide from.
Mm-hmm. She
She
might
may
not
not
have. We're not the same. Go ahead.
She may not have realized that it was a water tank.
Right.
And
I
then
don't think
couldn't
I
get out.
would.
Right.
Right. And I mean, it was really high, but if it were dark, maybe she didn't realize how big it was.
Right.
Maybe some of the platforms seemed like some of it. So maybe it didn't seem like it was as big as it was if it was at night.
That's true. Yeah. So, another important detail from the toxicology report was the absence of alcohol or illicit drugs in her system. So, that did rule out intoxication as a factor in her behavior. What the toxicology report couldn't answer was why Elisa wasn't taking all of her medications as prescribed. Did she intentionally stop taking them? Or perhaps maybe she was already feeling normal because she was enjoying her travels? It brings such different feelings and the way that you might be looking at it. Maybe also, I think when you're taking medication, you're feeling good. You might tend to believe that you don't need them anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe you think that's not what is causing you to feel good, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Also, she could have been rationing her medication, fearing that she could run out. Maybe she had wanted to stay longer. Maybe she had wanted to stay longer in Santa Cruz and thought if I skip a couple days, I can extend or
Right.
stay here longer. Also, when you're traveling, you're out of your normal routine.
Mhm.
Had she forgotten? I know that I have a hard time when I'm on vacation making sure that I take them
Yeah. Me
every
too.
single day.
I have a hard time at home.
Yeah,
So I have
that too.
my pill box.
Yeah, right.
Even then,
It's like right there and
it's
still.
hard.
I have mine written on my mirror in washable marker,
Oh, that's good. I like that.
and I see it every morning.
Yeah, I flip mine every night. And then when I wake up, I take it and flip it back. So that way I can actually remember if I even took it
Oh,
or not.
that's also part of
That
it.
happens.
I
There's a
do
good
the
chance I
same
double
thing.
take.
Oh, see?
I do the same thing, Krista. I flip
Mhm.
them over, but I also have a pill box for my ones that are not my morning medications. But even those,
Mhm.
I don't take every day.
Yeah.
For my vitamins and stuff.
Those are good life pro tips, guys.
I used to always give that tip to my patients when they were saying that I can't remember if I took it.
Mm-hmm.
So I say flip it over, and then when you go to bed, flip it back.
Yep.
So in the morning, you have to flip it over to take it.
What if you can't remember if you flipped it or
I have that
That would
problem
be
too
me.
sometimes.
Mine's just like baked into my routine. I go up, put my water bottle down, flip my medication.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is I need an actual routine.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
That will help.
One of the most scrutinized details of the autopsy was the presence or lack of water in her lungs. While the coroner ultimately ruled her death as accidental drowning, the report's lack of explicit confirmation about pulmonary edema or significant water in her lungs left room for debate. Drowning typically results in water entering the airways and lungs, leading to asphyxiation. The absence of a clear statement about this in the report has fueled speculation about whether Elisa truly drowned.
That's so interesting.
Right?
If she drowned, there should be water in her lungs.
Exactly. And it didn't specifically say that there wasn't. Critics of the autopsy findings argue that if Elisa had indeed drowned, the autopsy should have shown unmistakable signs, such as frothy fluid in her airways or significant water in her lungs. The lack of emphasis on these details in the report has led some to theorize that Elisa may have been deceased before entering the tank, with her body placed there afterward. This would align with all the foul play theories, suggesting her body was disposed of in the water tank to obscure evidence of how she died. People who believe the autopsy and the drowning ruling counter that certain variables could explain the lack of definitive pulmonary findings. For example, the state of Elisa's body after nearly 3 weeks of submersion in the water could have complicated the autopsy process.
Mm-hmm.
Decomp can make it difficult to distinguish water that entered the lungs during drowning from water that seeped in post-mortem. Additionally, the coroner noted no other signs of trauma or foul play supporting the conclusion of accidental drowning, despite the ambiguous lung findings. The condition of Elisa's body at the time of discovery plays a significant role in this debate. Submersion in water accelerates decomp, particularly in warmer climates like Los Angeles. Over time, gases build up in the body, potentially displacing fluids and making it harder to determine the exact circumstances of death. Forensic experts have pointed out that the advanced state of decomp might explain why the report lacked explicit details about the water in her lungs or the frothy fluid that's commonly associated with drowning. This ambiguous detail has become a cornerstone for alternative theories about Elisa's death. Those who suspect foul play argue the absence of clear drowning markers could suggest she was incapacitated or killed before being placed in the tank. Others propose that Elisa may have lost consciousness due to a manic episode, hypothermia, or another condition before entering the water, leading to a form of dry drowning, where the body reacts to water exposure without significant pulmonary flooding. Forensic pathologists who have reviewed the case emphasize that the absence of certain findings doesn't necessarily contradict the conclusion of drowning. They highlight the challenges of interpreting autopsy results in cases involving prolonged water exposure, where the body's condition can obscure definitive markers. While the debate persists, the official ruling remains accidental drowning with bipolar disorder as a contributing factor. The question of whether she drowned or was already deceased before entering the water tank exemplifies the complexity of this case, and it also highlights the limitations of forensic science when faced with decomp and ambiguous findings, which is where the body farm comes in.
Well, when I'm there, they can figure it out.
Exactly.
You're
We only have to
welcome.
wait 100 more years.
I don't want to be 130.
Sorry.
31.
Hey, that was uncalled for.
I love you. The release of the autopsy report did little to quell public fascination with Elisa's case, while the official ruling of accidental drowning aligned with the physical and toxicology evidence. Many felt the critical elements of the case, like how she got on the roof and entered the tank, were not addressed. Mental health professionals have emphasized the role her bipolar disorder may have played, while skeptics focused on the lingering inconsistencies in the report. Elisa's autopsy provided vital information about her final moments but left gaps. So let's go through some of the theories. The first is the mental health theory. With her documented struggle with bipolar disorder and depression, it's led many to theorize that her death was the result of a mental health episode. And then, like we talked about, the toxicology reports. These episodes can include, like we said, symptoms like hallucination, paranoia, impulse behavior. In this scenario, Elisa may have perceived the water tanks as a place of safety or retreat, driven by distorted thoughts or fears. If she did remove her clothes, it's theorized that it could be explained by paradoxal undressing, a phenomenon often associated with hypothermia, where individuals feel an intense sensation of heat and remove their clothes despite being cold. But then we come back to the logistical challenges of lifting the lid, even getting on the roof in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can come up with ways that each of those happened, but
They all just seem very unlikely.
right.
Unless, I don't know. I still feel like I'm coming back to someone who worked there.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Or if she was up there with someone who worked there and she fell in or something happened and they shut it and they were scared and they didn't want to get in trouble.
right. They
Maybe
would
if-
know how to do the alarm
Yeah, maybe if
and where the
you know,
cameras were.
if she was with someone who was under the influence or who was on something
Mm-hmm.
and, that happened and they got scared and just ran away.
Right.
Mhm.
That absolutely is a logical theory. That
'Cause
one makes sense.
I still struggle with how the lid was shut
Mm-hmm.
because looking at those pictures, it just doesn't seem like there's an easy way to get in and shut the lid at the same time.
Right.
See, it seems heavy though. So if she were like trying to get in to hide or
Like started pulling it and it,
and then dropped down and it would have fallen shut. Like it looks heavy enough even if it wasn't
mm-hmm.
too far that she could have jumped like gotten in and then it shut on her.
But there's no ledge on the inside. How would she?
Well, if she was holding it and it was up
Mm-hmm.
and she jumped in and then it finished shutting.
Maybe like she grabbed for it or something if she fell in or
Mhm.
jumped in.
Yeah. I don't know.
Could be. Having the hinge on the door changes some of those theories for me.
Yeah, because I thought it was more like a solid
Mhm.
lid that had to twist off, but seeing those pictures of it being more like a door,
Right. That makes
I don't
sense
know.
how it could have closed.
yeah,
Yeah.
because like I said, if she had it straight up and down and she jumped in and then it closed on her, that seems possible because it's heavy,
Mm-hmm.
even if it was slightly towards the closing side.
Right. No, that makes sense.
That does make sense. I think I've just been watching too much Dexter.
Same. Another theory posits that Elisa's death was a tragic accident. In this scenario, stumbled upon the water tanks. She may have climbed the ladder to the tank platform, opened the lid, either to look inside or for some other reason. Once she leaned over, like we said, she could have lost her balance and fallen in. Critics of this theory point out the difficulty in opening the tank lid in the first place and the lack of evidence showing how or why she would have climbed up there. I don't know that we'll ever find that out, though.
No, but also, like you kind of mentioned before, if she was in a, episode, a manic episode or a
Mhm.
psychotic episode, maybe she did have that boost of energy and strength and
Yeah.
things like that too.
Right.
Even
mean, it's like
adrenaline.
Adrenaline. It's like the mom who lifts the car off the baby.
Yeah.
Like, people can do, things that they wouldn't do otherwise
Right.
in different state of minds.
There are reports of people that feel like they can fly even
Mm-hmm.
and have jumped off balconies or roofs or things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you get those fleeting thoughts
Mm-hmm.
associated with a manic episode, I
Yeah.
think that you can do more than you would normally.
Right. I think that's a good point. So moving on from those two, foul play, like we've talked about quite a bit. I mean, the autopsy did rule out, I guess, signs of trauma or struggle. But again, when we talk about the decomp process and what they're able to see and not see, I don't know how you can completely rule it out, especially the Cecil Hotel's reputation for criminal activity and just being on Skid Row. I mean, you've got people that live out there that probably know how to get onto the roof, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's been, it was 3 weeks after it happened. She'd been in that tank for a long time.
Right.
There's probably a lot of evidence that maybe stuff that they couldn't see.
Right.
Because it had been lost in the process.
There's a lot of different reporting on this case. And I read in some that there were fine black hairs all over her body. And I read in another that there were particles that were in the tank and on her. And I've not really been able to find specific, police department reporting on either of those, but I did see it in several places. I'm not sure what that could come from or if that points to the foul play theory too,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Was there long-term tenants living there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And you would think they might know how to get on the roof or how to disarm.
Probably.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if they're friends with the staff and maybe they go,
Hey, let's
hang
go
out
hang out
and-
on the roof.
Right.
smoke
that's
on the roof or
Mhm.
something.
You can probably see the whole city. It's probably cool up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so I worked front desk at the hotel for a while. We would go up on the roof. We
Mm.
went up 4th of July, watch fireworks, So,
oh, yeah.
I mean, I would assume that the staff probably would know how to get up there.
Yeah.
Right.
And if there's, you make friends with the guests who stay there frequently, who stay there long term, then I'm sure those guests would know as well.
Yeah. Finally, with the foul play, there were conflicting statements from investigators that kind of left this point. It felt like intentionally ambiguous, keeping the door open for foul play speculation. The fourth one ties into our ghost hunters' supernatural theory. The Cecil Hotel's long history of death and violence led some to believe or suggest that Elisa's death was influenced by supernatural forces. I'm not a big supernatural kind of girl, but I do feel like in this case, it's worth mentioning. I mean, the hotel is a hot spot for tragedy. There have been so many suicides, murders, serial killers. I mean, there's a reason the ghost hunters went there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Playing into that, if she was having a mania episode or a psychotic episode,
She could have
she
thought.
did see something.
Right.
And it's sent her off, maybe that set her off.
I feel like in that one part in the video where she swings her hands into the elevator, it almost looks like she's trying to see if something's there or push away.
Yeah.
Well, when the door's not closing,
That too.
why is this not
Supernatural
closing?
forces keeping it open, right?
Maybe there was a ghost standing in the doorway.
Well, and maybe she had been talking to other people who lived there who were telling her stories about it.
Mm-hmm.
It all could connect together.
When you're there for 5 or 6 days, I'm sure you're hearing.
Oh, yeah. You're out in the city even and people ask where you're staying. They know you're
Mhm.
traveling.
Yep.
They might tell her stories too.
Yes. Oh, I forgot to mention on the foul play one, speaking of that, on the foul play theory, she was updating her blog and her Tumblr with where she was planning on being and also where she was staying and where she had been. And she even did mention either in a post on her blog or Tumblr that she was regretting that,
Yeah.
Mm.
right?
So, pro tip,
Yes,
post
crime.
about your vacation after the fact.
Yes, crime clueless, not today club rule.
Yes.
Don't post where you're going to be and what you're going to be doing.
Where you're staying.
You open yourself up, right?
If you want to post about where you're staying, do it after you get home.
Yes, exactly. So sorry, I forgot to mention that with the foul play, but
What's interesting is she posted that she was regretting
mhm.
putting that information out there.
Yeah. Another interesting thing after she went missing and they didn't find her phone, they never found it.
It wasn't in the water tank.
Uh-uh. Her Tumblr and her blog kept posting. And of course, as she was really active on both of those, she probably had posts, queued up to continue posting. And I would really love to hear from Tumblr if she did have that, or did someone take her phone?
Oh, that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It was posting on both the blog and Tumblr?
When was the last post?
I'm not entirely sure because you can't find it anymore. The
Yeah.
title's still there, but you can't read any of her things.
Interesting.
Yeah. Lots of people had taken screenshots, when this all happened and
Yeah.
it was still up. And so you can read, some of those things, but several more posts though after she disappeared.
As we've looked into things, you can schedule posts, but I don't know if that was available back then.
So I do know that was available on Blogspot because I did have a blog back then and
Okay.
you could schedule them. I've heard that Tumblr was the same way, but I never really got into that one.
Yeah, me neither.
I think we're just like a little bit too old for Tumblr. Just a tiny bit. It's a little bit like angsty and
Yeah.
I think that's the feeling I get.
Well, I would have been her. How old was she?
She was 21 in 2013.
Okay, so she was a little bit older than me.
She was born in 91.
Yeah.
Oh, so older than me too. Woohoo.
Yeah. Sorry,
And you're
Lara.
both older than us, right, Jenna? They're both.
Yeah, they are. They're both older than us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, any comments on the paranormal involvement?
I'm not really big on paranormal stuff. I mean, there's some things that I'm like, oh, maybe. But when you were talking about that with like the door not opening, I mean, not closing and
Mhm.
something, her like waving her arm, that like gave me chills. That was,
Yeah. Well, and you
That's
can
creepy.
combine it with the
Yeah.
mental health.
Well, okay. So I myself have never seen a ghost. I'm not saying they don't exist. I
Mhm.
know lots of people have had various experiences. And I think a spot like that, I mean, years ago, I did a ghost tour for my
that's
friend's
cool.
bachelorette party.
mm-hmm.
Where was
and
that?
Salt Lake City.
Oh, nice.
We went to one of the sites of Ted Bundy's cabin.
Oh, yeah.
There was still a cellar there. People are not allowed in there because things happened in there.
Oh, my gosh.
When you step onto the property, I felt completely sick. As soon as
Oh.
I stepped over the property line, I felt fine.
Ew.
I have never seen a ghost, but I do think that
Mhm.
there are places with bad energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not saying it's not a possibility.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's how I feel too. Like I've never experienced anything myself, but I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I
Right.
don't know.
Well, I'm the skeptic.
We need one of those.
Yeah. I don't know. I think to me, it's that feeling would be knowing, what happened there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But with the things in that video,
Right.
it leads me to believe that she was having hallucinations and
Yeah.
things like that over the paranormal
Sure.
how I feel,
side
too.
because you can ask my husband. I'm a big skeptic on that. So.
No,
With
I
her history, that's what I feel too. Not saying that there's not bad energy. or
Bad
something
energy.
there.
I don't
Like a
know.
lot of terrible things have happened there. So,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
I'll be
Yeah.
in the middle of viewing.
I don't know. The more research I do on different cases, and there's something to it. I don't know what it is, though. All right. People also talk about hotel negligence. Another perspective shifts the focus from Elisa's actions to the hotel's responsibility. And her family did sue the Cecil Hotel for negligence. They lost. They said there was the alarm, there was the sign on the door. I mean,
There's still an access from the outside.
yeah, there's the fire escape.
That should be locked or blocked off somehow.
Right.
But again, unless she was with someone who knew how to get up there.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they had locks on the door to the water tanks.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like those should have been locked.
Mhm.
I do agree there's a, level of negligence there on their part.
Mm-hmm.
But if they did have signs and things like that,
That's
don't know.
how they, managed to not have to pay anything.
yeah,
But I do wish that they had surveillance on the roof.
me too.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with their history.
Yes.
People are jumping out the windows, and they should
Yeah.
have more surveillance.
Okay, I have one more theory for you, and it's like the most wild and conspiracy theorist.
Ooh, bring it.
Yeah. There's speculation about a conspiracy theory that Elisa was the victim of a larger plot. Basically, that she was a bioweapon. So around the time she went missing, there was a huge outbreak of tuberculosis. Over 5,000 people tested positive.
Oh, wow.
And some say that maybe she was infected with it, out walking around, wanting to put it in the water supply and get rid of people that lived at the hotel by making them sick. I don't know if it transfers that way. I don't think so. But
No.
the craziest point of this one, Lara, what's the test called to test for TB? Do you remember?
TB test.
No, get this. It's called Lam Elisa.
What?
Mm-hmm. So the tuberculosis test is called Lam Elisa.
Whoa.
Yeah. And the fact that there was that huge outbreak all around the time.
That's wild.
They say that her death was orchestrated to either spread it or conceal unrelated events. This theory is very tenuous and speculative, but it's just a really wild coincidence.
That is.
Those are the
Oh,
theories.
TB can be spread through contaminated water.
There you go.
But
I didn't see if she ever,
well, would they have tested for that?
I don't know. I mean, if it was like an actual conspiracy,
Yeah,
they wouldn't have tested for it.
true. Because the authorities would have been involved.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's
That's crazy, right? The theories, I mean, there's so many others. These are,
Lara, you're a skeptic of that one too.
yeah.
I'm very skeptical of a lot of things, okay?
That's good. These theories obviously range from plausible, logical to completely far-fetched. There's even more out there if you guys want to
Oh,
look
I'm
into
sure.
them.
Oh, I will.
Yeah, it seems like each one offers a piece of the puzzle, but none of them fully explain the case. When you take into account every single detail, her final movements, the
Yeah.
water tank, the elevator footage, it is probably that the truth lies in a combination of these factors, but we don't have answers.
That's so frustrating.
Since her death in 2013, there have been no significant developments in the official investigation. The case was officially closed after the coroner ruled her death as accidental drowning. In the years following, public interest in the case has persisted. Like we said, in 2021, Netflix released the docuseries Crime Scene: The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel. There are 4 episodes. They're each about an hour. There's a lot of interesting information in there. Despite ongoing public fascination and numerous theories, no new evidence has emerged. And the case is closed, which means they're not, looking into it either.
Mm-hmm.
Elisa's story is one that defies simple answers. From her mysterious behavior in the elevator to the haunting discovery of her body, every detail seems to raise as many questions as it answers. For many, the ambiguities of the case, the logistics of how she accessed the roof, and everything, even her autopsy, keep the mystery alive. Elisa's story is more than a true crime puzzle. It's a reminder of how fragile human life is and the complexities of mental health and the importance of understanding those complexities with compassion.
Yeah.
For all the theories and speculations, what remains is a tragic tale of a young woman navigating her struggles, seeking adventure, whose life ended far too soon.
That's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
It's really sad. What do you guys think?
Are you all looking at me?
Skeptic. What's your theory?
My theory would be the mental break,
Mm-hmm.
that it was a psychotic episode that caused her to have hallucinations and was somehow she got onto the roof and got into the water tank. But I mean, there's so many questions and so many barriers to that too. So it's hard to,
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many questions still.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I definitely think it's a factor of a couple of them. I don't feel like she would have gotten up there by herself. I feel like there had to have been another person involved, whether it was foul play or whether someone was up there with her. Like I said, maybe someone else who was potentially on a drug or something like that,
Mhm.
And they ran because they were scared.
Right.
But I don't feel like she could have done it all on her own.
Yeah. It's baffling.
Very.
I also keep thinking about how you said that they did find her in somewhere she wasn't supposed to be at the beginning. So I don't know if
Yes.
she was trying to explore the hotel
Yeah.
too.
Yep.
And maybe
Yeah.
was looking into those things and trying to notice how people got certain places.
Could be.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
That's entirely possible.
That's a good point. I forgot about that.
Mhm.
That is a good point.
Well, listeners, what do you think? Tell us your theories. What do you think happened to Elisa Lam? Thank you so much for listening. Do you guys have anything else?
No, I think I've said enough. Probably too much.
No. We really appreciate your time listening to us. If you're looking for resources for this episode, head over to our blog. You can find it linked on our website, crimeclueless.com, under the contributors section. Don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Just search for @CrimeClueless. And like I said, we'd love to hear from you, to connect with us and share your thoughts, theories, and feedback. If you enjoyed today's episode, and only if you enjoyed it, I'm just kidding, please take a minute to rate, review, and we would truly love if you would share our podcast. Your support helps us reach more listeners and to grow our amazing community. Remember, you can find Crime Clueless on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, and all major streaming platforms. So remember, refuse to be clueless, careless, or caught off guard.
Not today, murderers.
Bye.